Mike Douglas, CEO of Trace. Love to give you kind of a little bit of background on sort of what motivates us, what got us into this, and what we're trying to do here. So Trace sort of starts from this, basic sort of insight that much of the stuff that we've come to hate about our online engagement is all really downstream of the fact that we just don't know who's on the other side of the screen. So everything from, the pathologies of scamming, phishing, bots, impersonation, misinformation, stealing content, all of those things all share a same root cause, which is just not knowing who's on the other side of the screen and not having sort of verified counterparties that you're interacting with. And we look at that problem, and we know it's sort of been endemic to the internet throughout its existence. The question is, like, what's the trajectory of this? And the short answer is, honestly, it's getting worse, and it's about to get a lot worse with the advances in generative AI and the way in which someone can produce a very credible sort of image, likeness, video, audio, rhetorical style of anyone, with relatively sort of commoditized tools and very easily. And so these problems are about to grow in a very, sort of geometric kind of fashion here. And so we look at this and we say, okay, like, we've got this problem. It's a big problem. It's getting bigger. How are the big players responding to this, and how much success are they having? And the short answer is, there's been a lot of kind of work that's been done, and verification schemes that have been promulgated by various online platforms. And the punchline here is that, honestly, they haven't had much success. And often there's something sort of perverse here where, if someone gets a check mark on one of the existing social platforms, and it's an instance where it's effectively sort of infiltration of that scheme, that check mark actually serves to sort of supercharge the fraud or the scam that's being peddled here. And so it's something that's really, kind of problematic. And I look at this, and on one hand, you can kind of look at it on an individual case by case basis. On the other, you can take a more structural view. So I look at, the problems we see with these, big kind of social platforms, and the verification schemes that they're trying to push out there, and really kind of ask, like, what's going on here? Why, are these big platforms like truly motivated to go solve this problem? Do they have the resources to go solve this problem? And the answer I come to on both questions is actually no. From an incentive side, like, maybe the short kind of punchline I'd give here is, like, it's actually not clear that it was bad, for instance, for Twitter shareholders, that there were a lot of bots on the platform at the time of its most recent sell to Elon Musk, right? It's not bad for social media platforms when someone impersonates another user and generates, inflammatory content that generates a lot of kind of interaction on what they're doing. I'll also kind of reframe from a sort of sequence perspective, right? A lot of these platforms have taken the approach of, hey, you can come on, without any verification needed. And now that we have a problem, we're going to try and verify people. But there's kind of a good saying of, trust is hard to gain, easy to lose. And that sort of approach is almost exactly the wrong approach to take if you're trying to build sort of a high trust ecosystem or an information environment where you feel sort of confidence in the things that you're seeing and the people you're interacting with. So at Trace, we looked at this problem and we said, okay, if someone were to go solve, this issue, like, what would the solution look like? And we came up with a couple of criteria, kind of working backwards from the idea of, if someone were to go out there and solve identity in the marketplace, one, that solution should be very robust, should be very resistant to infiltration. If it is infiltrated, that there would be a way to sort of respond and adapt and have almost a, kind of a Bayesian response where you can start to adjust your confidence in different individuals and the folks that they're connected with. The second sort of thought here was, whatever trust solution that you implement out there should be completely legible to the end audience. It shouldn't be the case that I just see a check mark on a social platform and assume, oh, okay, well, I guess that person's trustworthy. Any audience member should be able to click in and see, hey, okay, this person's verified, and this is why I believe they're verified. And the final thought here is that, we should not, exist in this sort of fragmented identity environment where you've got to get Meta verified and TikTok verified and LinkedIn verified and verified across the whole sort of, very widespread digital footprint that you have. Rather, you should get verified once, and that verification should travel with you across all platforms. So, as a team, we sort of outlined like what the ideal identity solution should look like. And then we thought, all right, who's the right people to go target this towards? And we considered a whole list of people that, would be kind of prime suspects for anyone working in the identity space. Maybe we need this for journalism and news organizations to prevent fake news. Maybe we need this for politicians who might be, the target of impersonation, by adversarial governments. Maybe we need this for small businesses trying to protect their brand. And the answer we came up with, it's not intuitive, but once you think about it, it makes a lot of sense, is we came up with the idea of targeting our solution to online creators. And the reason we did this is we wanted a population who was motivated to solve this problem, moves quickly to adopt new technological tools, and would be influential to others to bring them along on the solution that they're starting to adopt. And this is kind of definitionally who online creators are, right? Very frequently impersonated or have content stolen from them. And this is a group that's very quick to try new tools and to bring others along with them. So we built this thing for them, which is basically, look, we're going to credibly verify you in a way that you can show all of your audience what all your profiles are. This is all my content, and provide a centralized, sort of verified sort of portfolio of completely verified and trusted content here. Would love to give you a sense for what this actually looks like. So this is actually my co-founder's personal profile on Trace. She's an accomplished creator in her own right. She's been a celebrity stylist for over 12 years. And so she's got, interesting work that she's done with some of her, kind of clients. She's also runs a podcast. She's been featured in the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and Forbes. And so this profile is a place where she can put all of, sort of the interesting accomplishments that she's been able to achieve in her career in one spot that anyone who wants to see what's going on with Kat can go keep up to date on. But what's also, sort of coming back to this core thesis I sort of motivated this discussion with, anyone who wants to understand why we think this is the real Kat Eves can click on her trace. And when they do, they're able to see, look, Kat Eves was endorsed by Mike Douglas, a known and trusted member of the platform. She's verified all her socials, and you can see what forms of government ID or other things that she provided to certify herself. You can also go fully up and down the social network and see, okay, if Kat was endorsed by Mike, what things were used to certify that Mike is who he says he is? Or if Kat endorsed, XYZ people, what were all the evidences provided to certify these people as well? So it's this way of creating sort of a centralized landing place of, what is the most interesting and representative work that you've been able to achieve in your career, but also what are the evidences we have to show that you are who you say you are. So as we've gone out to market here, we started this company really in January of this year. So, we're less than 90 days really into this here, and we opened up a wait list against a minimum viable product. We were able to very quickly get to 100 people who wanted to use this without doing any kind of advertising or anything like that. And it's been pretty interesting to see. We've got, of that 100 people, that group has over 4 million followers across the various platforms that they post and engage on. And, we're working our way to slowly onboard those customers and start to understand and better understand their needs and what they're looking for. Just to give you a sense for who these people are, we've got a lot of, actors, filmmakers, designers, comedians, influencers, authors, writers. The group that we've pulled together, in addition to being prominent, is actually a very sort of diverse representation of what it means to be an online creator. And as we started to work to onboard people onto the platform against that 100-person wait list, what's been interesting is to see, the thing that we thought would be a real problem has actually been shown very clearly to be a very real and present danger in the minds of the people that we're working with. So of the 30 we've onboarded, as part of their onboarding, we run them through an interview to better understand what got them interested in the product. And what we've learned is half of these people have been directly either hacked or impersonated or had content stolen. And the other half is directly connected to someone in their, sort of creator network that has had the thing happen to them. So for no one is this a hypothetical problem. And as mentioned at the start of this year, with advances in Gen AI, we think this problem is going to take off, in a sort of in a parabolic fashion here. So one of these things here where, we're seeing the problem today, we think it's going to get a lot bigger, and very sort of reassuring to see that as we work with this group, that these problems are very real for them. Now, in addition to having a sort of direct to consumer sort of motion as we're going out and onboarding online creatives onto the platform, we are taking a B2B to C sort of enhanced sort of distribution model that complements this direct to consumer sort of model here. And I've had conversations with 24 different companies and various stages here, the vast majority of whom are very quickly interested in what they're hearing. And often the response is just, hey, we're excited for this. And because we are a business, like, we're in a situation where, we would love to go live with you. We just have to make sure that the product's fully built, ready to go once it's kind of going. But as far as sort of the interest here from a business perspective and distribution channels, we're definitely seeing validation of this in the marketplace. And because we are early stage, those who are ready to commit today are going to be smaller players, but you can start to see the sort of momentum that you can achieve when you start with more of the tier 4, tier 3 players, build a broader sort of base from there, and use that as leverage to begin negotiating and closing deals with tier 2 and eventually major kind of tier 1 platforms. But just to give you a sense of who the two companies are that have given us verbal agreement that they want to go live with us, one is a feminist publication that has 14 people on staff and many more kind of direct contributors to the online magazine, which has been around for almost a dozen years now. And the model that we're running with them is, look, we're going to give you some free subscriptions for your top writers, and we're going to give you a rev share for everyone else who's on your platform that you bring beyond those who we brought on for free in that first set of writers that you got going for us. And the second group here that we're doing conversations with and running a similar model with is the Halp Network, which is a video game casting agency working with makers of such games as Fortnite, Call of Duty, EA Sports, and a similar kind of model here where we'll give some of their most prominent sort of contributors and partners a free access, and then give them a rev share on additional people signed up. What's pretty interesting about having a sort of talent agency working with us is that often their partners are very eager to impress the talent agency and to get their resume kind of top of queue for any kind of commercial partnership. And so having Trace as a preferred partner where you say, hey, look, we love to make sure that when we introduce people to our potential commercial partners, that they're verified sort of talent and they have a portfolio we can easily show our partners. It's the kind of thing where there's a bit of a sort of incentive for those people to kind of hop on and use what we're offering here. Beyond that, done some work to sort of benchmark where Trace sits. I will say it's pretty unique in the sense that this is the one platform that is extremely oriented around sort of very robust, legible security, and also being targeted at this audience that is uniquely vulnerable and able to bring others along for this type of offering. When we looked at what could the growth model of Trace look like if we were able to succeed here, and to do that, we plotted the growth rates of various social media companies using some kind of by order of magnitude how many users they have on the platform relative to the month that they launched. And what's interesting is that even though different platforms, they asymptote to different levels of total usership, they all have a very similar kind of trajectory. And so we calculated where we could get to based off of the idea of, look, there's 300 million creatives out there, online creatives, 50 million of whom are professional creatives, meaning that they derive a substantial portion of their income from their work as creatives. And we said, look, we think we can get to 20% penetration. And as you do that and you overlay that against the pricing model that we're going to market with, you actually start to see, look, this is what the valuation of this company could look like over time as we achieve on the milestones that we're setting out to go into. So the question that spurs is, look, what's the quality of the team chasing this opportunity? Just to give you a sense of it, I'm coming here from 5 years of leadership and SaaS kind of companies. Had a major unicorn exit to SoFi. recently and trained myself in both computer science as well as in business. My partner here is an accomplished creator in her own right. And as mentioned, featured in major, publications, has had clients win Oscars and Emmys and other things. And then I've got a head of product here who's relatively younger in his career, but very quickly been able to assume a very kind of lightweight, low cost team to quickly kind of iterate on our product. So here's where we are from sort of an investment, kind of thinking here is, look, this is a pre-seed, kind of opportunity right now. And, we're relatively new, as mentioned, kind of starting in January. And we've been able to answer a number of questions that start to de-risk this deal relative to, what you would expect to have answered questions to as it relates to a, kind of pre-seed stage sort of company. Quite frankly, from where I sit, it's the kind of thing that, from a risk-adjusted returns profile, it's the kind of thing that has a very sort of asymmetric return profile where there's not a lot of money we need to continue to sort of validate this thesis at this point in the game, and the total, sort of ceiling that we could achieve on is extremely high. So that's sort of the Trace offering here, and excited to find, investors and partners to sort of go to market with. Okay, Charles, any questions, anything else? You want to stop the recording? Let me know what you want to do here.